video game.
Idle thumbs. Games, video 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 games,
It's February 4th, 2009, and Gamefly ate your homework.
But this is Idle Thumbs 17, and I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
And I'm Jake Rodkin.
Hello.
Hello. Did
Hi.
you hear about Idle Thumbs?
What about it?
Yeah.
I hear they've got all the latest video game news.
I don't think we have
They
that.
were acquired.
No, they got the top rated video game champs around the world to give you the latest tips.
What are you talking about? Is this like a callback to episode, like issue
no.
1 of
I'm confused now.
EGM?
You're
No,
right.
it's not supposed to be, but they'll tell you how to find the fucking boss. Kill me. I'm sorry that I ruined everything.
Anyway. All right, Jake is dying at the moment.
Games.
I like this podcast, but you guys laugh too much.
Yeah, we should, yeah.
And we cut each other off too much.
It's a little
What?
giggly.
Yeah, so I was playing Killzone 2. I beat that game the other
That was
day.
pretty sweet.
I don't know.
10.0.
Not really. Not to me.
GOTY, February.
No. I don't know. This is
GOTF.
Killzone 2 is a weird thing. I played through that game. I got to the end of it.
Yeah.
It's certainly, like, technical fidelity is amazing. Definitely, it's a shooter. You play through, you can shoot a lot of guys.
Sweet.
I'm like, and I mean this in the most, like, genuine, like, non-snarky way. Like, I really don't understand what makes everyone give it 10s and 9.5s and not, like,
Did you play Killzone 1?
Pity.
I did play Killzone 1 and it wasn't good, but most people thought it wasn't good, so I'm not as
Yeah.
confused about that.
But now you just don't know.
Well, no, I really genuinely don't. Like, I really, especially the first half of the game or so, it's very, very typical. It's just like you go down corridors, there's dudes, there's locked doors, you have to kill all the guys. One of your buddies unlocks the door after you kill the guys, you go to the next thing. It kind of plays like, sort of like a light gun game, just as a first-person shooter. It's like a lot of the levels are annoyingly straightforward. It's like you're here, there's dudes on the other side of the screen,
Yeah.
you just shoot them all, and then you keep moving. It's like, that's fine, there's nothing like wrong with that, but it's certainly not interesting or like super compelling to me. I don't know. And again, like, it looks great if you like how it looks. I mean, if you like that kind of Gears of War style environment where everything's kind of dusty, and like, that's fine. And the shaders are amazing. And I will say that I've rarely seen a game that is as visually flawless within the scope of their artistic direction. Like, I'm not necessarily a fan of that kind of just like brown Warzone. I don't particularly like the Gears of War look either. So it's not like I'm picking on this game in particular, but it's just like, they did an amazing job with like the depth of field on the guns as you zoom them in, and like the animations are really fluid and all that stuff is great. But like, as an actual game, I'm really not seeing like what's so amazing about it. And the funny thing is, I read a few reviews. I read, for example, the Eurogamer review. They gave it a 9, and I really like Eurogamer. And I
But you don't like that 9.
Well, I mean, I read the review because I wanted to see, what their justification was, and it was filled with a lot of things where it's like, this part wasn't necessarily super impressive,
Right.
but and then like this certainly not like anything out of the ordinary. And I'm like, they had all these little caveats, and none of them were huge caveats, but I'm like, yeah, I agree. And then it just turns out to be, like a average shooter, and it's like, that's the kind of site where I was surprised to read a review like that and then see that score. And
Those caveats all added up to exactly 1.
Yeah. I don't know how to talk. It's hard for me to like talk about this game because I don't do scored reviews, and so I like having to compare it to other people's scored reviews is sort of impossible.
What score would you give it?
I don't really know what score I'd give it, but I'm just trying to, because all those other sites do scores, I'm trying to figure out why they chose those scores. Like there's a lot of games, like shooters I've played, that are pretty similar or superior to Killzone in terms of gameplay that would not get those scores. And I can go into some specifics. I mean,
Sure.
because I don't want to just sort of be completely vague, like, it just wasn't
Right.
Should go into them.
like, for one thing, this sounds like a shitty thing to complain about, but I really, really wish you could hold more weapons. Like, it's essentially a one-weapon system because, I mean, it sounds like the typical fucking 8 weapons, 10.0, but like, you have your pistol that stays with you the entire game, and then you only get one other weapon. So
the pistol can't be traded out?
No. I mean, it encourages you to not experiment with like
Right, you get
mid-range,
the one
long-range,
good- the one that
short-range.
works for you.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly, and you just kind of stick with it. And it just there's a few factors that all contribute to the battles in this game not standing out for me. Like, first of all, I think when you do a shooter on a console, you have to approach it in a certain way. Like, I think when you do a shooter on a console, it makes sense to try to do things that take advantage of the fact that the player is not playing a Twitch game. Like, you don't have the ability to zoom around 180 degrees in a split second. You don't have the ability to like quickly look over the screen. So you want to do things that cater to that. You want to do things like that try to encourage battles to be more dynamic through other means. And I think there are games that do that well. And the problem with a lot of the battles,
Gears of War does that well.
I think, I'm not a Gears of War fan.
I know you're not a fan, but I think to that
yeah,
point specifically,
I acknowledge.
I think that the way that the run system works, and all the mechanics as far as jumping over barrels and things like that.
Yeah, no, and I really hate to bring this up, but I think Halo does it well too, and I hate to fucking compare these games because I don't want to.
So it's a PlayStation,
and if that was a
Xbox?
9, then this can't be a 9.
Stupid, but the problem is I really think Halo is a good example of how to take advantage of that.
So even if it was on the PS3?
Yes, even if it was on the PS3, Jesus. But
I don't give a shit.
No, I know. And I will say, I think that there are some things that Halo does badly, so I'm not trying to just say, like, for example, I think the level design in Halo is mainly terrible and the pacing is pretty bad, but I think the one thing that Halo does really well, and it's the thing that's enough to make me enjoy the game a lot, is it really forces, in some cases, it forces battles to be dynamic. When you're in a good arena in a Halo game, the way there's different types of enemies, some of whom want to come up close to you, some of whom want to snipe you, some of whom want to engage at mid-range, the different sizes, the different level of shields on those enemies, the extremely different guns you have, like, that do extremely different things, all of those things really encourage you to engage in a lot of different types of encounters. I really feel like they could have done more in that department in Killzone because I don't feel like the game wants you to do any of that stuff.
So what's the problem? Is it the kind of thing where it's a shooting gallery where there are dudes with guns and you're sitting
behind
there
cover,
and you slowly move your scope over somebody's head, you hit A, you move, you do the same thing.
And then you kill them all and advance to the next zone.
And some reviews describe it as tactical, but I don't feel like I'm conjuring up any tactics. I'm just like, I guess I'm just being careful. To me, that's not tactical. It's just sort of careful, which is fine.
Tactful.
It's tactful. That's actually a hilarious way to put it.
Thank you.
Like, which is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that gameplay, but it's like there. And this is another frustrating thing. There are some levels in that game that are great. Like, towards the end, there's a particularly great level where you're assaulting the enemy fortress. And it's
prudently assaulting.
When you're prudently, and it's really good. Like, they take that cautious attitude, but they put it in a place where there's lots of different structures around. It's not just sort of a funnel towards the end. There's actually like a big arena with cover all over the place. There's all different routes you can take to get there.
Chris is waving his hands around, explaining the scope of his
drawing a blueprint. Yeah.
There's enemies that are fanning out towards you in different directions. Like, it plays differently when you start over. That's fine. Like, that's great. I had a lot of fun with that level. But most levels aren't like that. Most levels are much more linear, and for example, there's one, and this is actually something that sometimes the pitfall the Halo 2 and 3 fell in, sometimes 2, which is terrible, where there's just like 8 snipers in a level, all like in the same fucking 20-yard radius. So I'm like, so it basically is like a memorization game of, all right, I know that sniper's there, so if I run this way and run behind him, I can get back him and punch him in the head. Oops, I just got sniped again by a different dude who I didn't see because I didn't get that far last time. Yeah. And every single time you do it, the enemies run in the same way, they have the same route, and it just... It's not dynamic, and I feel like when I play a first-person shooter, the thing I want out of it is dynamism. Like, the type of game where you're inhabiting a character, and the only purpose of the game is to kill all the guys. Like, that's what a sort of straight-up first-person shooter is. I feel like if that's what I'm going to be doing, I want it to be extremely dynamic, and I just don't... Most of Killzone 2, I didn't feel delivered that, and I wish I could understand, like, what exactly it is about this game that's making people freak out so much besides the graphics, because... I didn't really get it. Like, there were some cool things, and I played through the game to give it a fair shake, but I don't know. Those moments when it was really good were not worth the moments when it wasn't for me. And I will say also, I haven't played the multiplayer because the multiplayer servers have only been up for like a couple hours during the beta period.
We played it for like 10 minutes.
Well, you played. There's no. Split
Oh no, that's
screen
right. I was just playing with bots.
Yeah, there's no split screen of any kind and no co-op in this game.
Yeah,
which was actually disappointing
really
to me. Which I can't hold that against the game, but I do feel like it would have made this game better. Because, for example, in games that have, like, first-person shooters that have poor single-player campaigns, a lot of times, I'll happily play through those single-player campaigns if I can do it with a buddy. You know what I mean? Like, I'll forgive pretty egregious single-player design mistakes if I have just a guy there I can dick around with, yeah. But this game doesn't have that, which is too bad. But, you know, whatever. There's resource issues.
Maybe they'll patch it in.
Probably not. Like in Halo 2, there was that god that you guys probably don't know this, but in Halo 2, you can create a co-op single player lobby and then it's just grayed out. Like it doesn't let you press start because they never put that functionality in the game, but I guess they probably planned it at some point.
Nice.
And so it's still in the game's interface. You just can't start it. It was the biggest fucking middle finger. It was just... I remember seeing that one time and at my friend's house and we're like, oh my God, they put it in. Make it, start it, do it. It's horrible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But no, this game doesn't taunt you like that, fortunately. But I've heard the multiplayer sounds really cool from what I've seen. It apparently has a pretty cool class system, and that worked well in Call of Duty 4. Like I'll check it out when the game actually goes live.
And the game mode cycling things.
And the game mode, yeah, Jake and I were fooling around with the single player, like the bots. Yeah, just like one player with bots. And it seems like it's got a cool multiplayer mode cycle thing where when the multiplayer mode ends, you can have it just go straight into the next mode without switching the map or starting.
It switched from Team DM, and then once that objective was met, the announcer was just like, and now it's a capture point game.
Right.
Like, oh, what the fuck? And then once the points were captured, one of them just turned into a flag, it seemed like.
Yeah, it turned into a hilarious mode.
No. Was it capture the propaganda speaker?
Yeah.
So there's the flag instead is just a speaker that emits propaganda, which sounds really dumb and trite. Except
it's actually
I thought when you said speaker, I thought it was just like a dude.
No, there's just a speaker. But the best thing is you can tell when the guy has the flag because you hear like, "We must all rise up and like throw off our oppressors," like a little like radio voice,
like a tinny little voice. Yeah, it's actually really awesome.
It's pretty hilarious.
It's pretty good. It's actually a pretty great multiplayer mode to have it. Like if you're just gonna have capture the flag,
right? Why not?
It's a funny way to sound like a 40s like State of the Nation address is whizzing by your head.
Oh, there's the guy's got the propaganda speaker.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's cool.
Yeah. No, it's not. Yeah, you're not holding like a propaganda.
Dude, that'd be even more hilarious.
Please stop.
Yeah. So anyway, Killzone. I don't know what to say about this game. And
just didn't think it was that special.
I just didn't think it was that special. And the all the story and character stuff is just like I'm
boring.
so sick of just like bros fighting wars. I was sick of it in Gears of War, and I'm sick of seriously. Like it's so
the Great Bro War.
There's so many. There's like 4 or 5 your mom jokes in this game. It's
nice.
They will go to hilarious lengths to get a your mom joke in there. Like there's one dude who's like, "What are you doing? Eating some lunch?" The other guy's like, "Yeah, my mom packed me a ham sandwich." The other guy's like, "That sounds delicious." It's like, what are you doing? And he's like, "Get your mom to pack me one when I leave her house tomorrow morning." It's like, wow, you guys went to great lengths for that fucking payoff there. You like invented this thing about having lunch and there being a delicious ham sandwich. And
is that in a cutscene?
I think so.
Oh, because if that was happening just during a firefight, that would be amazing. If sometimes games think it's really.
You're right. Yeah. There's a lower.
I would accept that as like a thing in the game.
It's like something you find.
Maybe
like
it was in the game. I mean, maybe it was.
It's like when you're on fire in NBA Jam. If you're doing really well, the guys like their morale is up to the point they start cracking your mama jokes.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been in the. I don't even remember. I mean, if it was in the game, that's fine.
It's in the game.
It's in the game. It's in the game. EA Sports.
Your mom's in the game.
Yeah. Oh shit! I just got owned.
Lion copyright Killzone 2.
Yeah. Oh, also the first. This was funny to me. After the initial like text crawl narration thing with like the enemy bad guy giving you a big speech about how this
you did
world...
a hand gesture that implied he was going to give you a big hug.
he was a snuggly dude.
Come here, bro.
The first actual like diegetic line of.
Sorry, he gives you the really bad mocap GTA bro hug.
Yeah. Jake and Nick are making like bro
we
hug
were pretending to have hands made of 4 polygons.
So the first like diegetic line of dialogue you hear in this game is like squad mate rushing in and going, "This shit makes me want to break stuff." How typical can you get, writers of this game? I don't know. It was just like it seemed so much like it was just trying to outbro Gears of War. It's like you've got the
50 Cent game coming out. I mean, you can't possibly compete with that shit.
But those guys are real gamers.
Those guys aren't bros, though. That's different.
Oh, that's true.
Like, this is like the bro... Like, also, your character is hilarious. Your character is like the secret European amidst a world of bros. He's got like a faux hawk and like...
Really?
I don't know. He just looks like he's from sort of the Nordic region where this game was made, whereas your other squad mates don't. Also, and I think Gears of War does this too, and I feel like an idiot for not knowing if this is the case or not, but you can die in that game, but your squad mates just fall on the ground and then you zap them with a thing and they come back to life.
Wait, your squad mates come back to life or you can die? I'm confused.
Okay, you as a character can die permanently. When you die, you die. Your squad mates just fall over and then you just
But they don't have the ability to zap you back up.
They can't zap you back up. That shit irritates me. Also, your squad mates can die in a cutscene, which still irritates me. That shit still bothers me in video games. It's like, this is in a war. My guys take bullets all day long, fall over all fucking day long. Sometimes, like, they'll die once a minute, and I just zap them back up with my thing.
Right. And then in the cutscene, the guy gets shot once, and
it's like, oh, I'm not going to make it. God damn it.
It's like, you are...
Yeah, I've got my fucking zapper. Can I just come over there? I still got it.
No!
Leave me.
What?
What? No, but I seriously, dude.
You've probably got one of those zappers, and you guys just don't like me.
Reach in your pride.
Use it on yourself. Like, I'll turn around.
Well, look, dude, you can. It's cool, man. Seriously,
I can't zap.
I won't tell anyone.
Watching.
I'll just say nothing happened.
I'll tell them you died. You can go home.
You can just leave. Also, the game is funny because it assumes you, I guess, have knowledge of the first game, and are just supposed to take it on faith that it's okay that you're just invading some other civilization's homeworld. Like, the enemies are always saying stuff like, you can't come to our planet, and like, the enemy bad guy's like, this is our home, like, you can't just come in and invade it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, why? That sounds reasonable. Like, this is your planet? Why are we fucking coming here and trying to kill you? Like, that's fucked up. Like, I don't know, that struck me as really weird, but apparently I guess they attacked first or something.
It's no blood for aliens.
No blood for aliens. Mass Effect. They announced Mass Effect 2. Yeah. Or said it was coming.
Speaking of no blood for aliens.
Well, I don't know, it's a great, hilariously stupid line from that game. I don't know.
Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
The sequel to Mass Effect.
No more blood for aliens. Mass Effect 2. No more blood for aliens. Yeah.
Cool.
Sweet.
Do you know much? Do you guys know much about Mass Effect 2?
Not really. They said it'll be multi-platform at release this time. They didn't really indicate which platform.
They didn't specify, right? Yeah.
So it's DS.
Yeah.
DS, PS2, Wii, PSP. They're taking a cue from the new Indiana Jones game.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. I saw that game. Somebody sent me a link to screenshots of that game, and I thought it was a DS game.
The Wii game.
Yeah, I thought it was a DS game. I was like, wow, this is an upscale DS shot. It's pretty good for the DS.
It looks like the weird GameCube, but the screenshots all looked like someone tried to hide that by applying like the Photoshop watercolor filter.
Right, yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
There are Wii games that look way better than that game. This game looks pretty shitty.
Yeah.
So I guess they canceled the...
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the LucasArts. LucasArts was... Well, it has to be. They were demoing for years the what was assumored to be a PS3 and 360 port, which had all the same tech as Force Unleashed. It had the Euphoria and it
natural
had
motion,
and the
morpheme.
Yeah, all the stuff where objects break in realistic ways, and it had
the guys grab onto things.
Yeah, the Euphoria thing as seen in GTA and Force Unleashed. It's basically, I think it was the Force Unleashed engine.
Yeah.
And that game was always demoed for years and years as nothing more than basically a tech demo of a Chinatown level that I think has been written up and previewed like 3 E3s in a row.
Yeah.
And then LucasArts laid off millions of people, and The Force Unleashed came out, and then there were rumors that everyone in internal dev, or almost everyone, was gone.
Yeah.
And then the Indiana Jones game that was finally announced was clearly not that one. It looks like they just had all the ports done by third parties are now the primary SKU after canceling their internal project, which I've personally never heard of that happening before. I mean, there's lots of AAA games get like, and then whatever, random developer X makes, you know, the weird Wii version that's a slightly different game, or like the cartoon Ghostbusters version or whatever.
Yeah.
It's weird that
this one looks so bad, though. I mean,
it looks
I know you say it looks like a Wii or GameCube game, but it looks like a PS1 game, and I'm not saying that with like a bad memory, because I was over at Hot Scoop's house the other day, and we were playing the Quake 2 port to PS1 that he for some reason bought like at Goodwill or something.
Yeah.
And it like seriously, this is what the fucking Indiana Jones game looks like. Like it looks like that level of graphical fidelity. It's like
It's a TC.
a TC, a total conversion of Quake 2 for the PS1. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever
it's like a whip
and they're
gun.
including Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, which is an amazing 1992 adventure
If you guys
game.
haven't played Fate of Atlantis and want to recline on your couch and play a sweet graphic adventure,
Then get the homebrew version for your
yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can buy this probably shitty game.
Hopefully, it's not unlockable. Wouldn't that be enjoyable?
Yeah, once you beat the game, feel free to
Oh my god.
You beat it once, and then it's like to find the true secrets, play it again on
on
expert.
hard mode. Yeah,
It shows Hitler sort of juggling the 7 Chaos Emeralds, and
yeah. So Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, that was one of the probably one of the absolute best adventure games ever. I think. I don't know. It was a great fucking game.
yeah, that game's really good.
Really, really good. Also, it looks better than the Indiana Jones Wii game. No, it fucking does. All right. If you look at I saw it. The Shaq News story was where I first saw it, and the way they do it is they have two a thumbnail side by side. If you click on each of those default thumbnails, one for Fate of Atlantis and one for whatever the new game's called, seriously, Fate of Atlantis from 1992 is easier on the eyes than the new
that's fair
Indiana
enough.
Jones Wii game. Like
It's
it just
absolutely
looks
true.
better.
Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating. I'd rather look at that game.
I would also rather look at that game.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just
We're just not gonna sit around looking at games.
Speaking of
Old
the
ones.
Wii,
Yeah.
this is just
Oh
Segmania.
god. Yeah. This is gonna be a
Electronic
good
Arts
seg.
says that. Oh well, Electronic Arts says they're going to devote half of their effort to the Wii,
Right.
which I don't know.
Sweet.
What boom blocks like Night on the Town?
Block.
Yeah. Well, they announced a new Boombox. The Boombox was really
yeah.
good. I wouldn't mind
No,
more of that.
that's fine.
I don't expect that's
No, that won't be
going to
what
set
comes
the
of
standard
this.
for what happens on EA Wii.
No, it'll
games.
be Mass Effect.
Well, they announced Dead Space for Wii,
That's what I
Yes.
mean.
which
That's
is
what-
fine.
that was weird,
I think
yeah.
that's fine. Like a lot of people on the internet, I noticed were complaining about that already, but who really cares? Like the people who are buying that for Wii clearly don't have the other systems, or they would have bought that game already. So they're not going to care that they're getting a version whose graphics are lower res or whatever. Like that's the kind of thing where I don't really
I mean,
mind.
it's like a Call of Duty port or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah,
fine.
right,
I have no problem with that stuff. Like
Or the Dead Rising.
the Dead Rising, yeah.
Jesus.
With,
yeah, well,
with
then I
like
have a
3
problem.
zombies. Like,
Yeah, God. What a terrible game.
yeah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff where, I'm not going to play it. That's fine. Like, it's just whatever. Like, it's if they can bring those out on that system, that's fine. But I'd rather, hopefully, if EA really is going to devote half its effort to Wii, they actually do spend some time making some actual games that are suited to the platform. I mean,
Yeah.
It's like some minigame galleries, like a casual sports game.
I don't even know what I want. I don't even know what I
sort
want
of
on the Wii
virtual
anymore.
pets.
I feel like the Wii is one of those systems where, like, I feel like there could be a lot of really cool stuff people could be doing on it, and I just like wonder, like
4 years later.
Yeah.
We're still like, hey, look at that thing, you can wave it around. There should be something that's cool.
Well, sometimes there are games.
There are occasional cool games.
Like, I don't know, No More Heroes is the kind of thing I would like to see more of on the Wii.
Yeah,
that's the kind of game where it's like you
you could just fucking go for it because
Yeah.
it's like the cost, like the sort of cost of entry or whatever on the Wii
right,
is lower.
Exactly. Like you can make a game that's maybe a little weirder and more out there
Yeah.
than you could afford to do on the like. It would be hard to get that game greenlit on 360 or PS3. Like as much as hardcore gamers might want it to be on those systems, like that would be just harder to do. I mean, you can do that on the Wii and spend less money
Right.
and
I feel like that game actually was a good fit for the Wii
I do
platform
too.
in general. Like,
No, I do
I think
too.
it probably
Yeah.
would have been an inferior play experience if it was on.
Yeah.
I mean, even just
it's rare to say
the
that.
like hilarious
Like the jerk off.
charge up jerk off thing. I mean, it's like that alone adds so much value to that game being on the Wii.
Yep.
'Cause
Yeah.
you have to do it fairly frequently. I mean, it's pretty hilarious.
Well, I mean, even just the stupid limited hold the Wii remote up or down for the 2 different sword modes.
Yeah, even that worked fine.
It's dumb.
That was a
but,
lot less obnoxious than some
But
Wii
it
implementations.
still was a good play style, and it's
Yeah.
like I kind of actually prefer that to having to click a trigger or something
Right.
to switch that. It
No,
would-
I agree. It worked fine. And I mean, I don't know if anyone's actually. I mean, I guess MadWorld is sort of trying to be that kind of game on Wii as
Yeah.
well. I mean, I don't know. That game seems like it might get tiresome.
I think it's going to be not so good.
Yeah.
Every time I see it, it's seems like one of those games where, you know, rather than having direct control, you wave the thing and then the animation plays and it's, you know, some crazy environment interaction deal, and then you wave it again, and you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't seem like very tactile.
Really? That's interesting, because that company I always associate with, or like those guys and the games they've made. Usually, they're usually pretty good in the.
Well, it's the kind of thing like with No More Heroes, where you know, you wave the sword and he makes a. Well, what was it? A button press for attacking in that game?
Yeah, and then you wave it for the special attacks.
Right, but for the special attacks, you wave it and there's like an instant feedback. Whereas with MadWorld, it's more of an animation thing, which just I don't know.
I see what you mean.
Yeah,
like all those things where the camera goes down a few degrees and then it is like a fixed. Yeah,
to me, that's just yeah.
Well.
Yeah, we'll see. That wasn't really what I was thinking of the worry, but that's a valid concern. I was more concerned just as the stuff you do in that game.
You're just going to run out of interactions too quickly.
It's like, I guess it's cool that I'm yet again plunging a steel beam through this guy's face, but
yeah,
you know, I read a preview like yesterday or today, I think on Eurogamer, that sounded fairly encouraging.
That's cool. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely want to try it out.
The description I read in this preview sort of described the interactions in it as kind of being puzzle-like in the order you do them and the sort of combinations of stuff. And the person who was writing the preview, and I wish I could remember who it was, said that they thought that because there was a sort of way that you could actually go through this, it might be sustained longer because it wasn't entirely just about the moment-to-moment interactions, but there was sort of a broader thing going on in levels, which... That's the most vague description I can possibly give because I only sort of skimmed it and said, oh, well, that sounds like I'll at least keep paying attention to this.
Right.
And now I'm trying to relate it to people, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Read Eurogamer. Stop listening to this podcast.
Right. Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll keep tabs on the game. I don't even really read previews anymore.
In general, it's nice to see something that bold on the Wii, regardless of.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, it's true. I mean, that is the closest thing I know of that someone's currently making for the Wii to something like No More Heroes, just in terms of not necessarily the gameplay, but just like this is something that is just kind of crazy and, you know,
it's pretty unique,
really bizarre. Like, let's put it on this system where we can be a little risky.
I thought World of Goo was a good fit for the Wii as well.
Yeah, that was a PC game too, though. So
I know.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good fit on the Wii. Yeah.
I mean, I guess just because the Wii has a pointer, but
yeah. No, it was a good game.
Also, World of Goo is sweet.
Oh yeah, Jake, you've been playing it.
I've been playing a little bit of World of Goo.
What's your special name for it?
World of Good.
World of Good.
It'll do you a world of good. Idle thumbs.
Are you playing it on the Wii or the PC?
I'm playing it on the Macintosh.
You're a rebel.
I am.
You're rebelling.
I'm rebelling. I actually just didn't want to turn on my PC.
How's the Macintosh port?
It runs like a
totally
game.
Different.
Yeah, I don't know why I've even asked that.
You guys probably didn't play games on the Macintosh like in the 90s.
Oh, I did.
No,
we had this thing
played
already.
like SimCity on the Mac.
I was a Mac gamer up until like 94
but
or
how
95.
the Mac, even though the performance was not always as good, generally had better ports on almost everything because the Mac couldn't do 320 by 200. So like Wolfenstein 3D and Doom and X-Wing and all those games, Command and Conquer. Whenever they came to the Mac, they always ran at 640 by 480.
Yeah, X-Men looked great. I just ran it like 3 frames a second.
That's pretty.
And all the graphical smoothing that emulators do now that people always jerk off about like ScumVM or the SNES 9X.
I don't like that stuff.
I know, but the Mac versions all supported that like on like your Quadra because they couldn't do 320 by 200, so people had to write. That's
pretty hilarious. Yeah.
I just remember.
Well, I tell you, Mr. Fucking Mac elitist. Circa 1995.
All I'm saying, also, native sound was better because people had to use wavetable because they didn't have an FM synthesis. Just saying.
I don't know what that means.
You should listen back to the one with JP.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, I'll file that away. Well,
so Macintoshes.
I played Macintosh, but like
you played Macintosh.
I didn't play Macintosh, but I played like Apple II stuff.
Like Lemonade Stand,
like pre-Macintosh. Like SimCity and stuff like that.
Number Munchers and SimCity on the Apple II?
Yeah, pretty sure they had that. Because that game was like 1989, wasn't it? Wasn't it?
I don't know.
About
maybe I'm misremembering. I thought I could be wrong. Anyway, whatever. Someone will probably write in and tell me I'm wrong.
But yeah, World of Goo. Surprisingly cool. Yeah. Oh, the one thing that I did want to say about World of Goo that has nothing to do with the gameplay and has more to do with the things that I end up doing as my job is that World of Goo is really, really smooth in terms of the way it transitions between stuff and like just the way that the actual sort of interactions between the gameplay and all the sort of meta control stuff is really nice. And it's something that some indie games do better than other games. Like,
could you elaborate?
When you start the game, Braid is another game that is very good at this. Of just it's sort of non-traditionally structured sort of game navigation where World of Goose starts. It has a little bit of an opening cutscene, then just fades you up into a sort of shaded out map, and then World 1 lights up, you click on it, and it sort of flies into that. A transition happens without any loading or any other shit.
Yeah.
And then the screen just continues to pan into the level world map. You click on that, and it just... Stuff like that makes me really happy.
Yeah.
And it has no bearing on gameplay, so people don't give a shit about it. But it's really nice that a lot of indie games are starting to do that, and I think sometimes doing it better than other games. And it, especially with an indie game, it does a good job, I think, of making you feel like you're playing something of substance that isn't made by two dudes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Anyway.
it definitely
Oh, that's
boosts
cool.
the presentation. I mean, it's just
That sort of stuff makes a game seem surprisingly more real than
No,
it
it
would
does.
otherwise.
Yeah, it adds a lot to it.
Because like the number of games, even retail games that have a menu that looks like it came from Commander Keen.
Yeah.
Is really,
Well, I
is
feel
really
like
fucking
games
high.
like that are almost the most likely to be good at that kind of thing. You know what I mean? I feel like the bigger budget sort of game you have, the more likely you are to just have like a very traditional
Right.
start menu that like, it feels like when you have a game like that, you don't want to start doing weird shit with like the most basic interface. Like once you think you have to sell a game to 2 million people,
Yeah.
you don't want to take a chance on confusing them by the start
that's
with the
true.
start menu. You know what I mean? It's like people know you press start and then you go up and down until you get to new game and then you press that
Right.
and then you go to level 1. Like that's what people know.
So you're saying the games industry is so afraid of taking a risk that they won't change the menu?
Is that wrong?
No, it's true.
Is
It's
that
just kind of
incorrect?
sad
Like,
when you think
it was-
about it.
it was
Like,
really- it was really
new
nice.
game, they'll be so fucking confused.
Well, I mean, I remember Jonathan Blow saying when he was making Braid, he was like, I even had to put in a like sort of a little menu there, just like a token menu, because Microsoft certification wouldn't let him make the game without having like like paying lip service to the start menu. Like,
I think with Braid,
he didn't even want to do that.
If you leave the guy still for too long, it'll say like move the analog stick to walk or something like that.
Yeah, well, it also has that. I don't think that's what he was referring to
really?
at the time. I forget what like.
Well, I know to get certified on Xbox Live Arcade, you need to have like new game help and options,
Right, that's
leaderboard
what he was.
achievements.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about.
If you
Right,
don't have
exactly.
that stuff,
Yeah,
yeah, it's weird.
right. And I'm sure it's the same for retail games. I'm sure it's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Some of that stuff is kind of lame sometimes, but whatever. I guess it's not that big a deal.
Well, whatever.
I mean, but it's nice. It is. I agree with you though. It's really nice when you play. I mean, like just Braid again, working within the confines that he had to work in. Like
it brings all
when that just
stuff.
starts. When you just start,
Yeah.
and you're just there. Anytime a game does that, it immediately makes me. It just like gives me a little tiny like jolt where I'm just like, oh
Little Big
man,
Planet.
this game's going to be a little different.
Yeah, Little Big Planet did that
Little
as
Big
well.
Planet as well.
Well,
right.
and it also just it means that you're not wasting time with the menus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you're like, oh fuck, this is.
It doesn't give you a chance
when-
to remind
well,
yourself
just-
that you've got to like input data. It's just
right.
like
Well, and just when the menu interactions are fun, then it's whatever. It's more value, I guess. That's a
game.
stupid way to
Yeah.
say it, but it is whatever. I mean, like if you go all the way back to like Command and Conquer, it was so fucking cool when that game installed, and then you see the sort of silent mouth, and then you configure your sound card, and suddenly it starts talking to you, and it's like, oh fuck, this is amazing.
I remember- I don't
the
remember that.
installer. The installer for CNC was a 320x200 VGA, like crazy, like FMV laden thing. It was like you were installing the crazy like GDI workstation software on your PC.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
I remember all the configuration options for Rebel Assault had like happy face, sad face, ambivalent face, like depending on how well your computer like succeeded at various like things, which I thought was the funniest goddamn shit ever. The fact that they identified it as an ambivalent face was very enjoyable to me. But yeah, that's one thing. What you're saying, I more meant, I guess, when a game just starts off and doesn't burden you with menu stuff. Like when you start a game, and immediately are in the game, like it is amazing how much of an impact that has on me. Just sort of if nothing else, even aside from just the purely immersive effect of it, in just sending a signal to me, like the person who made this game already wants to do something different. Even if maybe the game ends up being a very traditional game, but just even the fact
There's
that
like a
they've
little,
chosen
like a sort of spark of confidence right at the beginning.
Right. There's just, as soon as they've chosen to bypass the thing that every single other game does at the beginning, that alone just like sends a very small signal to my brain that's like, oh man, like this is going to be an experience of some kind.
Yeah.
Like hopefully it continues being that. But.
Yep.
Well, it's like jumping straight in the movie and putting the credits at the end.
Right, exactly.
You know
that
what I
was
mean?
like a fairly important, like now that's actually a choice that you make, and like it's actually meaningful whether you do that or not. Like I don't know. I think stuff like that's interesting, and I would like to see more games continue to not just fucking opening titles or whatever, but just
Right.
I don't know, more people start to like make decisions about whether this thing in a game should be taken for granted. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what
it's
Valve did with Perspective, like in the first Half-Life. Like that was them sort of choosing like this is a video game convention that everyone does, like these sort of cutscenes where it just moves outside, you see your character do a thing. Like we are going to consciously avoid that. Like all those things only happen when a developer consciously chooses to like just leave them out of the game. Like video games are so convention laden that you have to make a conscious
And
choice.
there's so many weird conventions that are just there as holdovers.
Exactly.
That if you really stop and think, there's a lot of really easy ways that you could just tweak or chop something and have a sweet thing.
Right. Well, I mean, did you guys see the video?
You heard me.
Did you guys see the video of the guy's girlfriend playing BioShock?
Yeah,
Yes.
I've seen
It was
those.
fantastic. She's saying all the all the stuff she's saying is stuff that a lot of video gamers probably think about in the back of their minds, but like it would never occur to you to be a weird thing. It's like, I just killed that guy for $2. Like the fact that she points that out because she picks up $2 from the guy, like that's an amazing way to think about it. I would never have actually thought about it that way.
Right.
She's constantly
Right, you just think, oh, I guess the drop is only $2.
yeah, exactly. God damn it! That guy only for like to someone who plays video games. It's I'm gonna fucking kill that guy.
Right.
Let's see how much money I get. It's like, wait, I didn't need to kill that fellow. Like he only had $2. Like I don't know. The whole that you guys should look that up, readers. It's I don't remember the name of the video, but I'm sure if you search for
It's like my GF
girlfriend
plays
BioShock or whatever,
something.
something like that, you'll find it. It's full of just amazing exclamations like that, of just really really great observations about all the things that occur in pretty much every video game.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys want to take a break?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, for the break, I wanted you guys to hear this hilarious thing that someone linked me on the internet. That
You're ready for this, you
That's a
guys.
stupid way to introduce it. But the reason I want to
It's
play
a
this is
YouTube
because
video.
I imagine, like, this is the kind of thing I imagine you could market to sell to someone who really sucks at multiplayer games. Like, do you guys have? I mean, the answer is obviously yes, because everyone who's ever played a video game has
you guys suck at
experience.
multiplayer games?
But no, I mean, like, you know, when you're playing a multiplayer game and you just lose constantly, and it's just like, God damn it! You get to the point where it's like literally you start to convince yourself there's nothing you could have done to win. It's just like clearly it is like I don't know.
It was fate.
Yeah, it's just like clearly no matter what I ever do, I'm always going to lose this game, and clearly that guy just like is magical and knows how to beat me at this game always.
Right.
Like when I play Counter-Strike, that's how I feel. It's
Right.
like there's clearly nothing ever that could ever be done that would make me
Like,
fucking
even if you had the best luck in the world, you would still be fucking raped.
Exactly, yeah. Anyway, one way you could market this device or this CD is to
This
people.
YouTube video.
Next time you're feeling down, feeling that no one really gets you, or you're just wanting to hear some encouraging words, well, there's a solution.
You can have what you want. You can do it. The finish line is closer than you think.
The Cheers to You CD is 8 tracks filled with encouragement and cheering applause.
Cheers
it's
to
even
you.
been featured on The Ellen DeGeneres Show.
We're on your side. We're here for you. We believe in you.
We guarantee you'll be feeling better about yourself and your life, or we'll give you your money back. Call 1-877-545-6715 now to order the Cheers to You CD, and you'll also receive 3 puzzle-shaped affirmative tokens. One says, I am courageous. Another, I am unstoppable. And the third, without me, the puzzle is incomplete. Together, all these items normally sell for $35.
The funny
but
thing is,
right
those are
now, you can
individual
get them
puzzle
for
pieces.
only
They're not part of the puzzle.
$24.95.
That's great.
Call now, and don't forget,
Hooray for you!
That's my favorite part. Hooray for you! So yeah, I pretty much need that behind me when I'm playing Counter-Strike. I like, you know, every time I'm fucking headshotted.
That would be the worst. You finally
Just tie
got
it
to
to, like,
line up.
I'm yours.
Hooray for you! Oh, fuck. Oh, Jesus.
That would be an amazing.
He's in the house.
If you were like, you know, just one of those fucking griefer assholes who's like, when you play Quake 3, who's always just waiting for you at every spawn point and like every armor power up. If you could somehow like hack the server to broadcast that,
I was gonna say,
like, or just put it into your microphone jack and just have it.
Right,
like,
that's what I'm talking about. There was that
broadcasting to the
company,
other
I think,
player.
who had taken the sort of concept of the insult keychain and mapped it to a third-party XBLA headset. And that would be...
Oh, right. Yeah, where you can program
you press
it.
the button, it's like, bitch, cocksucker. Hooray for you!
Yeah, just turn this into the most asshole-ish, sarcastic. Fucking,
Without me, the puzzle is incomplete.
hooray!
Cocksucker.
Bitch. Yeah. Also, if you guys go to, I think, Merriam-Webster.com, You can type in words and it'll say them, like it'll pronounce words from the dictionary. Like some of the stuff is so funny.
You thought it was sweet with your neighbors in television.
But it'll, like words that are actually in the dictionary, and it has a dude that says them. It's not synthesized.
Cocksucker in the Merriam Webster
I don't
dictionary.
think cocksucker's in there, but you can get it to say son of a bitch, like
son of a bitch,
son of a bitch. But it'll also have colloquial pronunciation. So like bitch, son of a bitch, some bitch. Like, it's actually got like the good old boy pronunciation in there. Like you could put those into your little like Xbox Live fucking key fob. Also, it'll say penis and peenies.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, so let's take a break.
Yeah.
Bitch.
Son of a bitch. Some bitch. Penis. Peenies. Game. Video. Game.
Yeah, that Ganon laugh. You know when you die in Zelda 2 and it says Return of Ganon? And like,
yeah. It has that like hardcore picture of Ganon.
Right.
Yeah,
That's a sweet
with like
picture.
his like 80s like the no fear eyes.
Yeah. Right, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, video
That's
games.
my favorite video game sound actually, is that like
Oh, really?
so hilarious.
It is pretty good.
Yeah, it's up there with Double Dribble.
I was just going to say, dribble. All right.
Why isn't that a thing that people have turned into like a sampled track of just all times that the NES attempted like speech or animal sounds?
What?
I'm just, like that would be an amazing
mean
like
just,
there's a source for a song of like Double Dribble.
Like a YTMN.
Right, like weird horrible things of the NES being stretched well beyond its actual abilities.
Yeah. Someone probably has.
Yeah.
Hasn't caught on to the internet at large.
Some web.
Yeah. All right.
CompuWeb.
So we're back.
We're back.
We're back. Totally back.
Get ready for games.
Nick, you have some games you can talk about, right?
Nick's got a game.
I got games.
Video games.
You got games.
I got game.
You had like Halo Wars and Dawn of War 2?
Yeah.
Both real-time strategy games.
Yes. Real time. In real time.
So you can... Okay, come on.
All right. Yeah, I'm talking now. I actually went out to a hotel to play Dawn of War 2, which I've been playing for a week. But this was the co-op. I can't talk about the co-op, but I did talk to...
I brought up this thing that I can't tell
really
you
talk about it. But I can talk about the interview that I did with lead designer
Johnny Ebert?
Relic. Yes. He's a really cool guy.
What did he work on at Relic before this? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean,
I think he was on Company of Heroes.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he was pretty involved in there. But I don't know if he was lead designer on it or not. But yeah, no, it was interesting. Like, he was talking about a lot of the things that we've sort of been debating over the past week about whether or not it's I mean, there's some sense that they see this as a risk too in terms of simplifying Dawn of War down to what Dawn of War 2 is, you know. And what was interesting is that they're actually going to have player metrics where in the same way that Valve can look at how long somebody's played, the average of hours somebody's played through Half-Life 2, they'll be able to look at, and I guess this is being tracked across Steam, Games for Windows Live, and they have like an independent tracker in the game. But they're going to be,
is that just for redundancy's sake, or what? I mean, what is the purpose of?
I don't exactly know. I think I guess Steam is going to be probably tracking, like
one
hours
thing,
played
and then,
like total
probably
hours played.
Game for Windows with all True Skill does all of the like multiplayer sort of wins and losses and stuff like that. Yeah,
but the thing that he said, they'll be able to look at exactly, the thing that people picked up first. In other words, when they get home with the game, if they start playing the campaign first, if they go to, if they go to skirmish, and then, what people are playing on average. And that's actually going to determine where they take the game from there.
Oh, that's cool. I love stuff like that personally.
Yeah.
I always see some gamers on forums get all up in arms about
it's one of those things
personal data where
sort of ideologically seems like dangerous, but practically it's actually extremely cool and extremely helpful to developers, I think.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I could see,
and it's a really good way to both try something new while still making sure you're not just going off the rails. It's like, it's good that you can do that and sort of say, all right, we're going to try something that's a little weird here, but we recognize that if it just turns out to be completely untenable, we will be able to steer this back a little,
Yeah. The only thing I could see, is if that starts to dictate design in the same sense that a Metacritic, rating might, where they take it too literally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And sort of let it overrule like their better judgment.
You always that's no matter what. I mean, as a developer, I think not speaking as a developer, but just I think developers have to be smart about. I mean, any decision you make on a sequel.
Whether or not
it's advice you get from like the head of your company, your publisher, your producers, your fans on the forum, or metrics that you collect.
Yeah.
How you interpret that, I think, depends on.
Yeah, you still need a good designer.
Whether or not you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I
didn't
do
mean
think there is
because I think those guys clearly have a head on their shoulders.
For sure. I think that's a challenge for any developer.
But by the same token, I think probably any developer would agree playtesting is sort of the be-all and end-all of sort of figuring out if people actually understand shit more so than what a bunch of video game critics decide through scores. Like, I mean, I don't know. When you look at just the way developers who are always preaching the value of playtesting, their games just consistently end up more playable. Mm-hmm. It's just, how it is.
Yeah.
I mean, with the video game, it's like, it's hard to get around that. It's like, how do you get around, like, watching people do something and seeing if they can do it or not?
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, did you guys talk at all about specific design decisions or anything like that?
Definitely.
Yeah. I haven't read the interview yet, so I'm grasping here.
Yeah, no, I mean, we just, we had it like a couple hours ago, and then I wrote up the interview, so it's just kind of like a blur in my mind, but
I thought you were going to say fresh in your mind.
No.
Hooray for you.
No, kind of a busy day at Shack News.
Yeah.
But, God, yeah, we talked about a lot of things. Well, one of the things we talked about was just sort of like charting the history of Relic and kind of seeing where they're going, It was interesting to find out that it seems like they sort of had a crisis point after Homeworld came out, and then they did
the first Homeworld back in
not
98?
after, not right, but Homeworld came out. It was great and everything.
Yeah.
And then they made Incredible Creatures, which just completely tanked.
Yeah.
And,
that was from Microsoft, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That was when Microsoft actually published PC games.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh God.
I kind of want to talk about that later.
Yeah, we should probably. Yeah. But yeah, no. And then they made Company of Heroes, and I guess that was just an incredibly difficult project for them. There
are quite a few years between Homeworld and Company of Heroes, like 6 years in between that.
Yeah.
I mean, they made Dawn of War before Company of Heroes.
They did, yeah. But I was sort of skipping ahead. But just, the work that went into that game. And I guess, I asked them, did it sell real well? And I think
Which company?
Yeah. And it sold, average, you know what I mean? And
which for a PC game can be dangerous.
Yeah. And so it was interesting to see that, they probably made a very clear choice to sort of, take what worked out of Company of Heroes and sort of apply it to Dawn of War, which clearly was the franchise that, was going to have legs for them.
Really? Because I always feel like Company of Heroes got so much more, I don't know, just buzz and kind of notice than Dawn of War.
Critical praise, but not sales.
People playing games, you hear about more people playing Dawn of War, I feel
really?
like. Yeah.
Dawn of War was a big deal. I mean, that sold really well.
I mean, and I love the Warhammer universe, so I don't, that's cool, but I just wasn't aware of that.
I don't think people pay attention to the fact that it says Warhammer at the top.
No, I realize that. I'm just saying my point is that, like, even though it's a game that I already thought was interesting, like, I still wasn't aware that more people, I don't know, I just always heard more about Company of Heroes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's interesting, though.
Yeah. And I don't know, I asked him, there's so many elements of Company of Heroes in Dawn of War 2 that it almost seems like another iteration of Company of Heroes. And how do you then go back to Company of Heroes and sort of keep what that is and make a sequel? And I don't know if they will, I don't know if, but we sort of touched on Homeworld, which, they own the IP for people who aren't familiar with it, but
they got it back recently.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect anything. I mean,
you don't think there's one in the works?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think
Homeworld HD remix,
Super Homeworld.
Well, I mean, we were talking about complexity, as far as Dawn of War 2 goes, and I mean, it's obvious what they did with Dawn of War, that they're trying to simplify it, streamline it for a new audience.
Yeah.
Homeworld was just the exact opposite. I mean, that game was incredibly complex.
But like Homeworld societies.
Yeah, I mean, he said, if we were going to do it, we would completely reimagine it. I mean, you'd have to, so I mean,
he would make you hate it.
probably.
Yeah, it's funny talking about this with you. Well, actually, I mean, I actually wanted to ask also, did you present to him? You might not have wanted to do this because it's the kind of thing that other sites have already done, but did you present him with like specific criticisms people have had of the beta so far and kind of their reaction? I mean, other sites have done that, so it wasn't necessary, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, not in that specific interview. We talked prior to the interview, just about random things. I mean, they're doing a day one patch for the game, and we sort of touched on that a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
One of the specific things he brought up was the fact that they didn't really know the multiplayer maps that they designed. They weren't really sure about what whether those would play well at all, and it turned out that they didn't. So they had too many choke points, I guess, and that's a pretty big criticism
about the maps currently invading.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that was one thing that they directly addressed. They're releasing 2 free maps like within the first week of launch that are very open, and so that's cool.
Yeah,
they're gonna do free maps. They're gonna do free little updates and stuff like that, and then there'll also be paid DLC, which will be maybe missions or things like that. And but like I said, they're going to determine what that will actually be, whether that will be
right. I've read a couple interviews about on this game, and this is the game I've played most over the last, basically ever since this beta got announced. It's been the game I've played the most. I've played the shit out of Dawn of War 2 beta. I really, really like it. So I am
I'm liking it more and more.
Yeah, that's cool, because I mean, I already kind of liked a lot of the changes they made. I like the fact that this game feels like a hybrid of an RTS and like a node-based action game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really even look at... Again, and I'm saying this as someone who admittedly has a very different frame of reference, because I didn't play a lot of Dawn of War. I played some of the single player, and that was about it. So, I can't speak from the perspective of someone who is like really invested into that game's mechanics, but I really like the Warhammer universe, so I was kind of interested in it from that standpoint, because I, as a huge dork, used to play the Warhammer tabletop games back in the 90s, and the feel of the game, like, to me, it wasn't so much they took an RTS and took stuff out, it's they made a game that's in between an RTS and an action game, and that's kind of the angle I came at it from, just because that was just the situation I was in, like, based on my game history, and so... I really like how it plays. The biggest fault I would say I have with the game is if you're on a team that is not interested in working together, it's garbage.
We talked about that actually. Yeah. And I sort of asked him where did you make the distinction? Because I think part of the issue with that is that they've segmented the races to the point where if you're not cooperating, you're missing out on a lot of the
You're racist.
They've segregated the races.
Yeah. Did I say segregated?
You said segmented.
Segmented.
Okay, I didn't know if I just slipped into
Jake filled in that blank.
Verbiage. Yeah. Anyway.
There's a machine.
It's cool. That's gone now.
It's off.
For a second, a weird probe was sort of reaching towards Nick's eye, but it retracted into the wall, so that's good.
Anyway.
Yeah, also just...
Oh, you know what else we talked about was something you and I were talking about, I think, was... the fear that and I think maybe we touched on this the last podcast or maybe one before, but just the fear that you can have in a StarCraft match when you're playing somebody else and you're just...
Right, there might be a silent rape occurring.
Right, the complete panic, and how that was something that they specifically...
When the fog of war lifts, it's
you're just like, oh,
fuck,
shit.
I'm screwed.
That was something that they very specifically wanted to address with the 3 versus 3 gameplay.
I think they did a really good job of that.
Yeah.
In the game,
they wanted it to be, I think what he said, they wanted it to be that when you win, you're like, oh, okay, great. And when you lose, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's sort of narrowing that range of,
right. Well,
they want you to be sort of ambivalent.
Well, to a certain extent. The rewards that they wanted to give the gamer were, like new items and shit like that, rather than being like, I won a round. It's, I made my dude look cool.
There's no thumbs up or thumbs down. You just always sort of get the hand waving.
Well, the more you win, you get extra shit that goes in your characters, but they don't affect gameplay. It's just like, my guy looks fucking rad. Yeah. Like, that my guy has kicked a lot of ass in the past because he's full of crazy armor.
Skulls chained around him.
But yeah, just because of the nature of the game, the fact that it's control point based and not you kill the guy. I mean, I think there is an annihilation mode, but I haven't played that.
Mode.
But yeah, because of that, the person who wins always has a lot more points just by the nature of the game. So the person who wins, his score at the end is like when it goes to the post-game like
10
lineup screen,
points above the other dude.
It's always like
a tiny margin.
Oh no, I think it's the opposite of that.
What?
The losing team always has...
the losing team, yeah.
The losing...
But I mean within the teams,
though. Oh, within the teams, right.
Yeah.
But the losing team always has like 25% of the points the winning team has. It's always it looks like you get slaughtered.
On that screen?
Like, blow it.
Does it go like...
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't do that. It doesn't do like the StarCraft, like...
Just like...
Yeah, that'd be demoralizing.
Humiliating style.
And it just keeps... That's what it's like in Left... That's what it's like in Left 4 Dead.
I love that, though. Just like...
It's like you have... Your team got 25 points.
Yeah,
the opposing team got 4,800.
Right.
Like, how the fuck does that happen? I've been playing a lot of Left 4 Dead too, and it's like in versus, if your team loses by a lot, you lose by a fucking ton.
Yeah.
You lose by like 1,000%. It's like
that stuff is so fucking funny to me.
It's pretty awesome.
It does make you feel like a complete
it
shit.
makes you feel like a fucking ass. You need the hooray for you guy in the background there, fucking cheering you up.
You can just see the game just...
Yeah. Yep.
I will say though, I've been playing the two. I mean, in addition to Dawn of War, I've also been playing a fair amount of Left 4 Dead, and I've finally been getting good at the versus mode, which I didn't used to like.
Really?
And, yeah, because it's like
that's my favorite. I don't play anything else.
Now I'm playing most of it, more of it these days. But I'm realizing once you actually get good at versus and you're actually coordinating with your buddies, it's incredibly satisfying.
Yeah,
cool.
That game's, I mean, I guess like Dawn of War, it's obviously very team dependent. So if you're especially if you're playing as the zombie team in Left 4 Dead, if you don't coordinate, you're fucking screwed.
Yeah.
Because you take a couple bullets and you're dead. Also, they added all the stat tracking stuff to Left 4 Dead in Steam where it tracks all your headshots and stuff and like all your stats with weapons.
Tongues lashed and
that's tracked in Steam. Did they take it away? Mine's not there anymore.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
Because I love that stuff.
You got too good.
Yeah, right. Too many headshots. You got more than 65,300, whatever the 2 to the power of 16 or whatever it is. Can't count them in the system. Hooray for you.
Hooray for you.
Yeah, anyway. So what else do we have here? Oh, Halo Wars.
Yeah.
The other RTS.
The other one.
The one that is probably not as good.
No.
What do you think about Halo Wars?
Yeah, I mean, it's the game that you make when somebody says make a Halo RTS on a console machine.
Sweet. That's a ringing endorsement. Hooray for them.
Hooray for them. Yeah, no, it's
what have you been playing of it?
Just Skirmish, and I've played Skirmish before, but I
played
through the campaign. No, just
you played through the campaign?
Just against AI.
A robot.
A robot.
What did you think about the campaign? Because with a game like that, I'd probably only really be interested in the campaign. I don't think I'd want to play a console RTS multiplayer very much, especially when there are PC RTSs around. But I mean, if the campaign's good, that could be...
It's, it's just... Boy.
Oh, jeez.
It's just so bland, is the problem. You know what's interesting, though? The Gamma Sutra piece that you guys ran on Ensemble, specifically mentioned what, Halo Wars used to be, which was, a game codenamed Phoenix.
Yeah.
Which was, I guess, a Martians versus humans RTS,
right?
Which immediately sounds more interesting to me than Halo.
Well, as
overused as Martians versus humans is, I would much rather.
You've got those
game.
like Russian
if you just
guys.
Reskinned it, I would probably be enjoying it more.
You've got you've got those Russian guys making Stalin versus Martians.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that game looks amazing.
That could be really awesome.
That could be awesome.
Also, I have to say, in Killzone 2's defense, I do like the fact that the enemies you fight are like weird fucking space Nazis.
Right, yeah.
I like the fact that they have not like the Nazi officer hats, like their officers have those, and like they have all this weird like red and black like iconography. I enjoy
space
that.
Nazis.
Like if you're gonna make a game that's like full of stupid fucking bros, you might as well have them fight space Nazis. Like why the hell not? I don't know. Like it's hilarious. That's really funny to me. In fact, I wish they would have not taken that game so seriously. Like, I kind of feel like when you're making a game that you're investing a lot into dramatic cutscenes and like you're trying to make things where your guy dies and it's like supposed to make you like, I feel like you should actually have a good story. If you're not going to have a good story, then feel free to just go fucking hog wild, but actually do it.
Bros versus
actually
the
do
Space
it for
Fuhrer.
real. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know. I find this like stupid, like middle ground that every video game takes to be so dumb.
Yeah.
The story like it just always ends up being so ridiculous and like not, I don't know. Like, does anyone actually get invested in those characters? Like, seriously, for real? I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It'll make you cry.
This is like every video game. It's not even Killzone. It's just everything.
Halo Wars.
So anyway,
the problem with Halo Wars is just that it's the campaign really is not all that dissimilar from Dawn of War's campaign, but it's just the way. First of all, I don't want to play an RTS on a console. It's just as well as Ensemble designed it as it does work admirably well, but it's still fucking obnoxious. I mean, you can try and put a round peg into a square hole, and you can kind of like get shove it in there. But like,
I think it's fair to say that third-person platformers control better with an analog stick. It's fair. Like, there are some of those comparisons that are just fair to make. It's like
it's just awkward.
If
no matter how well you do it, I still don't want to do it. And I don't know. What can you say about Halo Wars?
Yeah.
The campaign is. I mean, I can talk about what I played previously in preview events and stuff, and it's just you group your guys together and you click on a bunch of dudes and they go fight, and that's it. You know what I mean? It loses. It doesn't have that tactical element.
Right. No, I agree, because I've played.
There are no tactics. It's just I mean, you build
your base. You build guys in your base. You go and attack the other dude. Like,
that's it.
If your guys are strong,
it's very simple rock paper scissors RTS design.
But there's no.
I mean, do you think, even though that's off-putting to you, do you think that means is it the kind of simple game like that is going to appeal to people? Like, is a dude going to be like, sweet, Halo Wars?
But the thing that I wonder is why
it's like asking me what kind of bone a dog likes.
Jesus Christ. But see, I mean, Jake, I think that there might be people who want to do that, but I wonder why. I feel like if what you want to do, no, seriously, I feel like if what you want to do is just have some guys that you're controlling, like from a separate, like, detached perspective, you might as well be playing like an action RPG or something that is just like really about that, instead of trying to like act like it's a strategy game. You know what I mean? It's like,
and even just coming at it from the perspective of somebody who just wants to play like Halo in a different game style, I really don't think it works all that well. You know what I mean? It's just you see a little Spartan on the ground and you just going pew pew, and that's like, it's okay.
What's he doing?
Wow, totally awesome. The one thing I will say though, the score is actually really good. Strangely enough, yeah.
Huh.
The high score screen is awesome.
That's what I thought you meant at first. Yeah. Oh my God! By the way, this is so out of place, but I can't even stop talking or thinking about it. Yeah, I know. But speaking of good scores,
you're gonna talk about this movie?
I'm gonna talk about this fucking movie.
What?
I want to see, like, I don't know. I saw this amazing movie on Sunday called Sweet Smell of Success at like a local film noir festival at the Castro Theater, which is this great like old timey theater in town in San Francisco. And it's just like, the score is by Elmer Bernstein, and it's just this crazy film noir brass band that just has the classiest, most just like sock you in the gut, just like direct to your fucking insides, just guy in a fedora walking the dark streets of New York soundtrack imaginable. And it's like, I wonder why that vibe is not done more in video games. Like Max Payne kind of had some of that, and everyone seemed to love that game, and I just wonder why. I mean, that game didn't go the whole hog in that respect, but it just makes me wonder why. Yeah, it makes me wonder why more games haven't explored that whole theme and setting and feel, because I don't know, it seems pretty fitting.
It requires class.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Ouch.
Yeah.
What? Like two dudes with guns blowing up a billion aliens. That's the antithesis of class.
Yeah,
it's true.
Unless you can choose the fighter class.
Hey,
come on,
you.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
Edit.
Oh, speaking of Left 4 Dead, Valve sold 1.8 million units at retail. I'm pretty impressed by that, actually. Like, that's a lot of units. I don't usually think of Valve games, at least recent Valve games, because they're doing these smaller, like more frequent things. I don't usually think of them selling
Left 4 Dead,
2 million units.
Like, was a thing.
No, it was a big deal. That game was very heavily promoted.
It does make me really want to know what the Steam numbers were.
Exactly. I'm really curious how much
it must have also done fucking well on Steam.
Yeah, it's been the top Steam seller for almost every week since it was released, and they told me when I was there 9 months ago or so that at the time they almost reached equal figures for their online sales as with their retail sales. So I mean,
I wonder if that maintained.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But they clearly sold hundreds of thousands of units at the very least.
Yep.
So on Steam, I mean, so
Well, the 360 SKU will.
yeah,
skew that
certainly
a little
sold
bit.
more.
And
No,
this
I
is
know,
the
I
case.
understand that. But
Simultaneous console launch surely
I
helps.
think it was 1.1 million on the console, and then
Right.
probably 700 on the PC.
That's
plus,
not bad even.
No, it's not.
No.
Plus whatever they sold on PC on the Steam. So
Yeah. Cool.
I don't know what they. Yeah, obviously they don't release those numbers.
Sweet.
But,
Left 4 Dead.
yeah.
Great.
So anyway, well, you guys want to do some reader mail?
Yeah, we should do some reader mail.
Okay.
Mail from you, our readers.
Hooray for you!
You gotta stop. God, that has to be contained
All right, sorry.
within this episode.
My bad. Okay.
Hooray for you.
Thanks. Tommy writes, my question is this. Do you think the seeming overabundance of shooters is a function of today's zeitgeist? Clearly, the genre's become popular with the Halos and Calls of Duty getting as... I like that he said Calls of Duty.
That's good.
Getting as much attention in online time as they do. But at the same time, some of the most ambitious game designers pick the genre. Levine with BioShock, Valve with Half-Life games, Clint Hawking and Far Cry 2, Warren Spector and Deus Ex, etc. Even Bethesda's RPGs have some roots in FPS. Why is that? Is it a reflection of today's genre of choice, or is it the genre that really offers us as close a shot at meaning and significance and even achieving some kind of artistic status? As a sub-question, do you think other genres could shake someone up the way that The Hospital, for example, and Rapture could in BioShock? Can the core mechanics of a real-time strategy game or a hack-and-slash RPG do that same thing? Maybe they can, and they're just not popular enough. Maybe these genres don't appeal to the people who like to shoot things. I'm curious what you professionals think.
Shake
Thanks
something
again.
up.
Cheers, Tommy.
Is what he said.
Yep.
I think that's a really good question, actually, because I was thinking about this the other day, coincidentally. I mean, I think there is something very immediate about the perspective.
Well, yeah, the fact that it's ostensibly you, even if you're
Sure.
sort of playing the persona of a different character.
Right. It's just the fact that you're in the middle of the environment. Like
And you need
yourself-
something, to give you a little perspective, so you have to have a gun.
Right?
You need
What else are you going to have, like
Yeah.
a pen?
Yeah. The pen is mightier than the gun.
I mean, I think it's a sort of cool thing about games with the type of sort of immediacy and the type of, I guess, effect or emotional impact or whatever that a first person game has. I think third person games have like sort of things of equal potency, but they're different. Like in a third person game that's done well, more than it sort of being about the experience that you're seeing through the character's eyes, good ones do actually make you relate to the character, or like
Right.
you find yourself trying to role play a little bit, or like the gameplay mechanics will sort of enable you to sort of behave the way that you think that character would behave. In first person games, maybe that's the case, but I always just feel like, hey, I'm playing as curious guy who's looking around at stuff. And then like when shit becomes awesome, it's awesome, but it's not.
I mean, I do think there is a certain type, like the tram ride in the original Half-Life, I don't think could be done in any other genre.
No.
Other than a first-person.
That's totally true.
I mean, not necessarily shooter, but a first-person game. I think also one frequently kind of something that a certain type of game designer who wants to achieve a certain type of feel, a thing they sometimes aspire to is removing as many interface elements as possible. And I think first person is the only way to fully reach that,
Right, 'cause
simply
there's
because
there's not a player on screen as your interface.
like there is theoretically, I mean, hardly any game ever does this, but I mean, theoretically in a first person game, you could have literally zero interface elements anywhere on the screen except for a hand or whatever, which is still part of your character itself. So I think that's probably part of it. I think there is just
You
something.
could have like a health meter on a boob.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. And I think there's, it's also interesting, I guess, that a lot of third person games, a lot of them are going more towards cropping the camera in closer and even moving closer to that first person kind of feeling. It's an interesting question, though. I was thinking about this the other day. I was actually thinking about it in the context of strategy games, which the guy mentions, because I was thinking about kind of how I'm so not interested in the story in games like Halo or Killzone or Gears of War, like how I just don't care about that.
A strategy game, though, that could have a crazy emotional impact, I think DEFCON is an extreme example of that.
An extreme
Like, I mean, that game abstracts us so far away that it's not... I mean, that's the whole point of that game, is that you're just looking at a console and sort of just blowing up weird Soviet cities.
Well, the cool thing about DEFCON is that
but
it's
that
sort
game's
of
just demoralizing. Like, you play it and you're
Exactly.
just like, oh, fuck, man,
yeah,
I'm
the first time I
worst
played that game, it was incredibly depressing. I was like, oh.
Well, just
God.
yeah, but I
But
mean,
it was great. I mean, it was like invigorating in that
game
respect.
Is a style of like it gets a response that you could never get out of a first person or third person game.
But see, the funny thing about DEFCON is that it is essentially a first person game. I mean, the conceit of the the conceit of the presentation of that game is you're in this war zone. This is what you're seeing, and all the sounds are around you. That's how I interpreted that game.
Yeah,
you look so fucking pained and disgusted. Jesus.
That's fine, but that's such a cheat.
What do you mean?
I mean, I guess that's true.
No, I mean, I think that is very related to why a first-person game has that feeling. It's like, this is what you would feel in that scenario.
That's
like,
totally fair
this is the thing that's in front of your face. You hear the sounds of an actual room. Like, imagine you're in this room. Like, the cool thing about that game is that these scenes of, like, insane, or, like, rather, these symbols of amazing destruction and death are represented purely as this is, the little alert you're getting on your computer, and there's presumably like staffers in the background walking around. Like you can hear them shuffle around and people moving papers and little beeps on the consoles. Like,
yeah, no, that's totally true. That's fine. It's just funny to. I agree with everything that you're saying, but it makes me sad because you said, well, obviously it's because DEFCON is a first-person game.
I didn't say it like that, but yeah, I know.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, the presentation is first-person, but the gameplay in that game is totally it's totally a strategy game.
Yeah.
Fuck
it's
you.
True.
No, but yeah.
Yeah.
Also, side diversion, as you said, the sound design in DEFCON is fucking awesome.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's really amazing.
Games that should receive awards for good sound design include DEFCON.
Yep. And what was I going to? Oh. On sort of another, I guess, a different sort of angle of what that guy asked. I was thinking the other day, because I've been playing a lot of Dawn of War, and I'm like, really, the story in this game is equally retarded as, to the story in all those other stupid first-person shooters that have stupid stories. Like, why do I not mind it? Like, why do I think about that in Killzone and Halo and Gears of War and not really care in a strategy game? And I guess the answer is because the thing that the strategy game is providing is very abstract. Like, it is sort of just, you are playing this purely for the strategic element of it. Whereas when you are put inside the perspective of a character, there is some kind of expectation of, especially because you're going through this area, you've got your squad mates with you, like, you get the sense the game is trying to make you care about its story.
Well,
whereas in it,
almost a role-playing distinction. I mean, you're in that role, you know what I mean?
That's true.
So, I don't know.
But when an advisor comes up on screen in a real-time strategy, you don't start tearing up.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why it's like it's an unfair standard on my part, because obviously real-time strategy games still try to do that.
Actually, in Myth, the Bungie games, when that dude said casualty whenever someone died, at first that actually freaked me out because it was weird to hear it referred to as a casualty. Yeah. It's like,
like a war.
Well, yeah, I was like, oh man, he's like being shipped back to his mom in a box. This is terrible.
Jesus.
The terrain's deforming.
I always enjoyed Lord of the Realms when you could click on a building and it said slaughter all villagers, and then you just hit yes. That was always fun.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I was talking to Chris Taylor years ago.
But I didn't care. But if I was, on the ground, in a first-person game, and there was the hut, and I slaughtered them all, I would be crying.
Yeah. Okay. I was talking to Chris Taylor, who is the Gas Powered Games creative director and founder, and this was several years ago before. I'm sorry, not Total Annihilation. Supreme Commander came out, and he was saying actually the reason that they made all of the units in that game robots is because he felt sort of irresponsible if he actually made them all humans. Like, if he didn't actually want to make a game where you're just sitting there killing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of humans all the time, so he just made them all robots, which I thought was kind of interesting.
But they're robots that can feel, which is terrible.
Right, they are?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a part of a cutscene.
I love.
Every time you kill one, it uses the crazy strategic zoom to go all the way in.
It's got that little window, like the little box in the corner.
He's
of the
just
screen.
finishing a letter to his robot wife. Please send.
Yeah. Jesus. By the way, speaking of all that zooming, in Dawn of War 2, it irritates the shit out of me that I can't zoom out any further. And the funny thing is, because I'm so used to PC, like, it's been a really strong trend in PC games over the last couple of years.
Right,
to
the ultimate zoom,
the scroll zoom, which is great. To me, that's one of the best interface improvements
down to the
on
ants
the PC.
in the grass.
Well, that's the part I don't care about. That's the funny thing to me, is all the people on forums were like, God, I wish they'd unlock this camera. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. And then the next sentence is, I just can't zoom in enough.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Are
Well,
you
they want to
serious?
empathize with the commander.
No, they're
Yeah,
like,
they want to see the robot
they
turn on
wanna
the
see-
Wall-E sad
Yeah.
eyes.
yeah. And I'm like, are you kidding? And so then they released a patch for the Dawn of War 2 beta like a few days later, and it's like camera unlocked. And I'm like, sweet. And I go in and I'm like, wait a second, I can't zoom out any further. And then I try zooming in, and you can literally go all the way up to the ground. Like the camera can just be on the ground. And I'm like, what?
You can see a low-res texture of a foot occasionally.
Right.
Oh,
Like,
sweet.
seriously, you can
Thank
just
God I can zoom in so far that I can get a higher res than the textures.
you can clip through the dudes. I'm just like,
Oh, that's really nice.
Like, why would you need? Why would any? And people on forums were like, yeah, thanks, Relic. I'm like, why didn't you guys ask for the other thing? If they're going to listen to you, like, why didn't you?
Yeah.
God damn you guys, you stupid internet people. Anyway, so I guess that's a question that we answered.
I don't really remember what it was.
Jose in Anchorage writes, well, what are the people with a PlayStation going to do without the Fallout 3 add-on? I even live in Anchorage, and now I will be left in the dark. What? I knew I should have bought an Xbox. PlayStation is a waste of time. What? I don't even know how to...
What's he going to do?
I don't know. What's he going to do? He's going to not buy the Fallout 3 DLC, I guess. I don't know. All right, next question. Steve, what the fuck was
He's
that?
in the dark.
Steve Miller writes, yo, I was listening to January 28th podcast, and you guys mentioned Xenogears. That got me thinking. I was a huge fan of this game, played it for many hours, and was happy as a clam. I remember a section of the game where you progressed in a huge base, and on exiting the game, you had a huge boss fight. The boss was brutal. I was never able to overcome
Exiting
him.
the game.
I like that this guy says I was never able to overcome him. That's a great verb to use in that context. I approve, Steve. Steve. To make it worse, you couldn't exit the building, so I was essentially stuck in the game. This has happened in a few games I've played, but this was the most glaring and annoying in all memory, because I did love the game and wanted to complete it. So my question is, have you guys become stuck in games because of some hurdle, insane boss fight, or level, and how did you cope with it? P.S. I still have this stave. Steve Miller.
I quit.
I usually stop. I
stopped playing the game.
Honestly. Well, seriously.
And that's why all games are now really easy.
What do you get?
Like,
I mean, like Jake has an example of this.
I've brought it up on 1,000 podcasts because it's Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, which I like, but I really hated the combat and was bad at it. I'm sorry, NeoGaf. I'm sure you'll tell me that if I just pressed the button at a different time, it would actually be really easy. But I was retarded at it, and then when it got to the
infinite... the designers read your forum post and they made Prince of Persia.
I'm sorry. But that game got to this part right towards the very end of the game. I loved that game. I was so into it. I came home from work and just played it and just thought I was burning through it. And then I got to this part where you're in a room, all the doors lock, and then the room sort of just starts spinning up a really
elevator.
high. Yeah, it's like an elevator, and it's just nothing but dudes falling from the ceiling, raping you. There's no platforming. It's just a million dudes, and you just, get sorted, fall to the ground. Before you can even get up to play again, another dude kicks you or whatever. And I tried it so many times, and then I just said, no, and I never played it ever again. And then I lost the memory card, so I...
That's a shame. That game was one of my favorite endings ever. I mean, I guess you've seen it.
I've seen the ending
now.
since then.
That's too bad, but yeah, I know. It's fair enough. What can you do? I mean, I've had that situation happen too, and
it's like
actually,
it's not like I just say, "Oh, fuck this once" and put it away. I fucking tried.
Right. What's the worst is when you're playing a game that you don't hit like. Right, Jake. When you hit just some random thing that I mean, it's not like a boss fight, but just some random enemy encounter that just seems a little unfair. Then you stop playing and you're like, I'll come back to that in like a day or two, and then you never go back to it.
Right.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back, but you don't realize it at the time, And then 2 years later, you're like, why did I never finish that game? Oh yeah, it's because I died that one time.
I can't remember the exact game. I've had situations like that happen where then you go, maybe I missed that game, and you pick it up and it's like you just rape that guy.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, what the hell? Weird. Yeah, that's funny. I mean, that's what's cool. That's what's cool when Valve actually releases their data. Like they did this for the Half-Life 2 episodes, and they showed you maps with color coding of the more intense the color, the more people died at that point on the overhead map. That was fascinating. Like that's amazing data.
That was really
cool to know. Like 33% of people died here. Like 45% of people died here. Like 10% of people stopped playing entirely here. Like that's
have they put any of those out for Left 4 Dead?
No, because the game changes so much every time.
That's what I'm curious about. I mean, how much of it is the AI director versus how much of it is
just
the map?
level, the choke points and stuff. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
I don't know.
Yeah, it also that would be cool. So yeah, we have had that experience. I can't think of any specific examples off the top of my head, but I've definitely had that experience this year, 2009, and it wasn't a New Year's resolution. It just I've happened to around the time of 2009 starting decide I need to beat more games. So I've beat a lot of games this year. I beat Killzone 2. I beat Mirror's Edge. Fallout 3, I forget if it was last year or this year. Now I'm going to forget everything. I don't know. I made a list of like 8 games. I've already beat like 8 games, which is already ridiculous for me. So I give myself credit for that, for not succumbing to those stupid times.
Sweet. You should start taking pictures of yourself with the end screen and posting them.
All right, so here we go.
Nail them in the Nintendo Power.
Yep, pretty much.
Tim Asti, formerly of Garage Games, writes, Dear Bay Area game aficionados, I saw that You Have to Burn the Rope was one of the nominees for this year's IGF Innovation category. This seems wacky. I'm not disagreeing that it was a great statement about playing games. I liked it. YHTBTR was a cute idea and well put together. However, nominating for an award in innovation seems like a stretch. What was the innovation? The gameplay was a side-scroller, the humorous acoustic sing-along credits have been done in Portal, etc. I get the whole games are too hard these days and you should be outside in the real world thing. That just seems like a social statement, not a potentially award-winning video game innovation. I like the game, but I feel crazy for questioning why it's got a nomination. Help me understand. The fact that I'm even questioning this could be the innovation flying right over my head. Rock on, rock hard air guitar solo here.
That's actually kind of hilarious, like, because that is kind of fair enough that You Have to Burn the Rope getting that award could be like the Emperor's New Clothes of
Right.
IGF, but. Yeah, I
know.
this
is the thing. I'm actually an IGF judge, and I agree with him. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I would. I thought that game was really clever and pretty hilarious, but I don't know if I would nominate.
But it wasn't innovative.
It seems like a sort of. Then this is a harsh, stupid form thing to say, but it is a waste of a slot in a way for the innovation award.
I agree.
What was the game for people who don't
basically know? The game is, and it's not a big deal to be spoiling this at this point, it's like you're a dude, there's a boss battle at the beginning of the game says you have to burn the rope. You get to a boss, the boss battle is
the boss is like 4 screen widths later also.
Right, it's like this game takes like 2 minutes to beat. You get to the boss, there's a chandelier over the boss's head, you burn the rope, the chandelier's on and it falls down and kills him. The funny thing is, a lot of players, even after seeing the message you have to burn the rope and seeing that the game is called you have to burn the rope, try to attack the guy, hit him with a sword, like shoot him, do all this. It's actually pretty hilarious.
Like one of those like IQ tests that you get in like a chain email. You know what I mean?
But it's like, done with like cool pixel art, and it's sort of just fun.
I said blue, but it was the color blue.
Did you see the Set the Rope on Fire cartridge from the TIG Source, the Independent Game Source website? They do competitions where a bunch of indie game makers just sort of make bullshit games. They had a retro demake contest, which was make a sort of false bootleg predecessor on a previous system.
Oh, yeah.
And someone made there's Soundless Mountain, which is an NES version of Silent Hill or something like that. But someone did one called you have to Set the Rope on Fire cartridge, and it's a game where it's basically even more pixely crappy version of you have to burn the rope. But when you do, it turns into a crazy fucking class 2 boss. And
that's great.
The game just goes insane and rapes you and is like a classic, horrible, hard boss battle. That's really good.
That's pretty awesome.
It's a trick ending built on top. So that should get the innovation award.
But yeah, anyway, this game I thought was clever and funny, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't innovative. I mean, to me, that was like someone writing a good opinion piece in a newspaper who makes a clever statement on film or something, and then saying it's innovative. It's not innovative. It's just clever and well executed. It's not.
Yeah, it's not.
To me, that's not innovative.
It's not that it's bad. It's actually a really cool concept.
Right.
It is a little weird.
Yeah. So I disagreed with that inclusion on the innovation list, but I'm just one judge, so I obviously it's just my opinion. But we agree with you, Tim. Here we go. Dear Idle Thumbs, question for you. Do any of you actually play sports games? It seems like the only time I hear you mention them in either writing or on the podcast is usually to mock the sequel-like nature of the games. Well, I don't think we do that.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think we've ever.
Because I don't have a problem with that personally. I think it's worth noting that this last year's iteration of the EA Sports franchises, NBA and NHL in particular, are pretty amazing. NHL 09 has amazing online leagues, player creation, and a lot more things. I recognize sports games are a pretty big-time suck, but some of them do offer a lot of really great
things. A big-time suck or a big-time suck? I think you might have
I don't know what you mean. So. Just wondering your thoughts on sports games in general. Your friend Scott, a.k.a. Soggy Bagel.
I bought NHL 09.
I gave NHL 09 an award on Gama Sutra, for best gameplay mechanic. I gave it an honorable mention.
Cool.
This sounds really douchey, but I tend to only play sports games if they're extreme or alternative.
Jake is a pretty alternative extreme guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I really enjoy skateboarding and snowboarding games.
Unless you can have a mohawk, Jake's.
Yeah, unless I can wear
unless it's got EA tracks, Jake.
I'm lost without that douchey DJ fucking. But
unless it has Offspring songs, you're not gonna fucking play it.
I don't really like racing games either, but I love Burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Oh my god! Did you guys see the Burnout PC video of like the 3-monitor HD, like 4,000 by 1,000 resolution? It's pretty amazing.
But yeah, I mean, you guys play the occasional sports game if it's
not. I very rarely do. The only reason I checked out NHL 09 is because I heard a lot of good things about it. It's not that I don't like sports games. I'm just not. I don't know. It's just not.
I actually when
it's like buying for me. It's like buying a multiplayer only game, like buying Left 4 Dead. It's a very specific game type, and the problem, and it's a valid complaint that nothing. Not much changes between each version. It'd be like, buying Left 4 Dead the next year, but instead of Bill, it's like some other dude. You know what I mean? Like, changed up the roster, and, it's a valid complaint because a lot of times there really isn't much that's all that innovative. But NHL 09 is a pretty good example of when, a sports game actually does make a big change that actually, if people aren't familiar with it, you can play, multiplayer with and everybody's a character,
like an entire team of humans.
Entire team of humans. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And a team of cyborgs.
It turns it into like a class-based multiplayer game. You got your goalie and he's got to do a specific thing, and then you have to coordinate, and it's it's like any other game really.
Also, personally, I don't really mind the fact that they release Madden every year and everything every year. Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like sports games.
No,
like, that makes sense given the fact that there are seasons, like sports seasons It's like. I guess you could theoretically do it as DLC and just update the roster, but I don't know. I don't really mind that they do it this way. But I just sort of like Nick. I'm not going to buy it every year. I'll buy it once in every long while.
And I think with Madden, you do sort of have to resent the the exclusivity because there was 2K was sort of pushing things along a bit.
Exactly.
I'm probably like you guys. I don't seek out sports games, but if I hear that one is really good, or if I have a friend who really likes to play them, I'll go over to a friend's house and play that game, but it's just not personally something that I'm into, even though it's not like I have scorn for sports games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you probably won't be hearing, unfortunately, Scott won't be hearing much sports game discussion here, but
unless it's extreme or alternative.
Unless it's extreme or alternative, yeah.
God, I'm sorry.
That's okay, Jake.
Sorry, world.
We know you're an extreme alternative guy.
It's true. Just look at me.
All right, so I think that's probably enough podcasting for tonight.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to our podcast.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Hooray for you.
That will be removed.
Video game.
Man, we should actually, that makes me want to make an alternate video of it that has, and 3 puzzle pieces. And those come in and it's like,
I am courageous.
Don't forget,
I am strong.
Excuse me, princess.
I am wise.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Hooray for you. You had Ganon like in the background fucking taunting you.
Right.
Hooray.